series, they'll come and take advantage of it. Whilst I'm on, I'll also use the opportunity to urge us to come along to our conference, the MBA SLP conference, taking place in Jos, Plateau State, from the 24th of this month to the 27th. It's going to be a conference like no other. We haven't been in Jos as the Nigerian Bar Association, for over 20 years, apart from a recent NEC meeting, which is really the meeting of our leaders. So do take advantage of the opportunity and join us in Jos for the MBA SLP conference. There will, of course, be a really illuminative and interesting session in person by the Law and Tech Committee of the SLP. So without further ado, I'll say welcome. I won't thank our speakers now, distinguished speakers. I'll leave that to the chair of the committee to do so at the end of the webinar. Thank you all very much and look forward to listening and learning. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Leonard Essay. The chairman of the Tech and Law Committee is also here. I don't know if you would like to say anything before we continue, but we'll try and make this as engaging and as interesting for you as possible. Okay, in case it's not here, welcome everyone. Okay, someone is asking, will the JOS conference be streamed? I'm sure we'll be able to take your questions later on as we proceed so that we'll get into the business of the day. So welcome everyone. This is the second part of this session. The last part held last week, and I understand that the video is available for everyone on YouTube. So in case you were not there last week, please don't miss it. Go and watch it. Today, we're also going to continue with what we have for you on tech and law, on AI and law, because I'm sure everyone has been wondering, AI, and many people have different understandings of what AI is. Some think it's just for, changing your pictures and manipulating data. Others think it's just ChatGPT. But thankfully, as lawyers, as we are professionals here, it's our duty, especially in this committee, to ensure that you're properly enlightened. And to do that today, we have brought together for you two very, very, very experienced and powerful people. The first person we have, she's been on the call since we started, Afolasade Banjo. Okay, sorry, I understand the chairman just put up the link on the chat. So just in case you're wondering where it is, it's available for you. So without wasting much of your time, I'm going to introduce the first speaker that we have two speakers. I'm going to introduce the first of them for you. She's Afolasade Banjo. She's here on the call. Her camera is on. I'm sure you can see her. She's a senior associate at Broderick, Bozimo and Company, where she expertly navigates the spheres of dispute resolution and corporate law. She's been inspired by remedial potential of law. She's committed to helping clients unlock their legal issues. She has a focus on client needs, and then she works, she also likes to be guided by the principles of, the practice that we have. She seeks to provide tailored favorite solutions for her clients. Okay, so she is an active contributor to the collaborative atmosphere at Broderick, Bozimo and Company. And Afolasade approaches every challenge with a proactive mindset. Her ability to analyze, strategize around complex issues is a testament to her commitment to the team. So please, Afolasade, let us welcome, and please wave your hands for those that can see your camera. And welcome to today's session.
Hello, everyone. I hope I'm being heard.
Yes, you're being heard.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, so our next speaker, I know he has joined us because he's also been here for quite a while. He's very well known to most of us here in MBA, and I'm sure a good number of you know him. He's Marx Ikongbeh. the founder, principal at Everlaw Associates, and this is a fast-evolving commercial law firm. He's a 2018 recipient of the ESQ Legal Awards 40 Under 40 category, which recognizes young lawyers making an impact in the Nigerian profession. From a background in commercial litigation, Marx has extended to the fields of arbitration, ICT, technology law, and intellectual property law. He's a facilitator on the annual Information Technology and the Law course of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies since 2016. He has trained in advanced intellectual property courses at the World Intellectual Property Organization Academy, and he's an accredited agent of the Nigerian Trademark and Patents Registry. He also conducted an IP registration business. He also conducted an IP registration business there since 2013. So Max, please welcome to today's session, and please let us see you. Is your camera on?
Yes, thank you very much, Uloma. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I must thank the SLP for inviting me. And then most importantly, Uloma, I just looked on the delegate list and I can see one of the matriarchs of the bar, Mrs. Hirat Balogun, also on this call. I mean, that's quite amazing. So I want to say my Ekushema. I hope I said that correctly.
Welcome,
thank you so much.
And welcome everybody to this call. My name is Uloma Okoro. I am the head legal services compliance at Global Accelerex, as a payment systems and payment terminal system provider in Lagos here. So welcome, and I am very certain that with the kind of people we have on this call, you're going to have a good time. So let us start right away. We have quite a number of questions, and we're going to make this as interactive for you as possible, so it won't be boring. So the first question I have is for Afolasade. Incidentally, you'll be opening the floor today. So everyone talks about AI, especially in the spheres of our legal practice, something that is going to replace lawyers. But we're also thinking, if it's going to replace lawyers, how is it going to replace us? Is it going to go to court? In what angle is it going to replace lawyers? And then in the work that you've done, are there specific things that you feel that AI has already taken over or will most likely take over? Please educate us and let us hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Uloma. Good afternoon again, everyone. I bring you greetings from my colleagues, all my colleagues at Broderick Buzimo and Company. I thank the organizers for the invitation to speak on this future thinking topic. I mean, scratch that. I think it's now thinking topic because it's here. AI is here. And first thing that I'll clarify is AI isn't replacing lawyers. AI is here and it is transforming our work. AI is certainly enhancing efficiency, but it remains far from being a substitute for human expertise. It will ease certain tasks, especially the time-consuming ones like document review, research. It can help us draft contracts, provide templates for simple contracts, generate first draft of processes, but it is not taking our place. Specific tasks that AI has taken over are in the areas of document review and e-discovery. So in clients that have fully embraced the use of AI in legal service, we have Everlaw, Relativity, Logical, which are e-discovery softwares that identify, they collect, they preserve, and analyze electronically stored information for use as evidence in legal proceedings, investigations, or regulatory compliance. These softwares can review thousands of documents in seconds. They will identify the relevant information for your case and flag the privileged ones based on training, data, or keywords. What this does for us is it ensures faster review times. I mean, if you would have had to spend like 3 hours on research or going through documents, AI can do it for you. And then it means that if you have a junior colleague, after you get the output from AI, you can have your junior colleague just look through it to ensure its accuracy, because we know that AI can make mistakes. I mean, if you've used ChatGPT here, you know that ChatGPT even leaves like a caveat at the bottom of the page to say AI can make mistakes. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Please cross-check for accuracy. Another area that AI would help us in, that is already helping us in, is in compliance and regulatory checks. So AI has become especially skilled at tasks performed that are governed by rules and patterns. So compliance checks, data extraction, document review are prime examples of where AI can outperform humans. This is because of its ability to handle repetitive tasks with precision. So this is where AI has truly shown. It is automating these routine processes so that it frees up our time to tackle the high level and intricate aspects of legal practice. So say you want to make some filings at CAC, you can simply feed your AI with the requirements specified by the commission, and it will and you can also supply the documents that you have. Then the AI will run check on the documents and ensure that they comply with the requirements listed. So you see, while AI excels at these tasks, it still lacks the nuance and flexibility that is central to the core of legal work. And that's where we come in. AI cannot replicate the critical thinking that is required to evaluate complex scenarios, nor can it even offer the kind of creative legal strategy that comes from years of human experience. So AI isn't replacing lawyers. It is only intervening in legal tasks, especially those ones that are repetitive, time consuming, rule based, or data heavy. So our role as lawyers is simply shifting to managing the output of AI. And we are also training AI by our prompts and taking decisions that AI cannot replicate. So the future is now, and it is not lawyers versus AI. It is lawyers working smarter with AI. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. That's been very thorough. While you were talking, we shared a poll or we conducted a poll. The results are out. I think it will be time to just let people see what it is.
Okay.
Can everybody see it?
Yes, I can see it from my hand.
Okay. Basically, wanted to know how often lawyers use AI tools and all that. So, and then what tax that's they think AI can replace. But if I'm going to start from where you stopped, because you're saying now that AI is not going to take over our job, it's just going to be us working with AI. Max, the next question is for you. I don't know, have you seen where a client comes to you, drafts an agreement, or calls up an agreement from ChatGPT and tells you, counsel, see my agreement, I drafted it. I'm sure it's very good. It's even better than what you're showing me. Just help me look at it. It's just, you're not going to, it's not copy and paste. I've already done it. Just look at it and tell me if it's fine so that we'll go along. Have you had any such things in your practice? What do you think?
Yeah, Uloma, thanks so much. And let me also thank Shadi for, laying a very good backdrop for me to take off from. So your question, answer to your direct question, I think it happens all the time. Some are honest enough to say, I generated this via AI and I want you to have a look at it. Others would simply pretend that the counterparty's lawyer generated the agreement and they only want you to review just so they could have a plan to negotiate your fees lower and say, look, you are charging me for review, not for drafting. So it comes in all of that shade. It's easy because, there are AI tools I can simply plug that agreement into and it tells me if this was drafted by, by AI, was actually drafted by a counterparty's lawyer and I'm only being asked to review. So it happens all the time. And I had the recent experience where a client's issue was that he felt that what I billed him for the contract was a little bit much, and he, went into saying, look, these agreements are easy to draft. He can generate this thing. It won't take him more than 30 minutes. And if I wanted to give it a try. So I said, fine and good. You can go ahead and draft. I would review. So he obviously drafted with AI. He didn't let me know. So I checked it immediately, found out he drafted with AI. But I just sent it back to him and showed him certain things. Of course, when you look at AI language, a lot of times you can easily find the cracks in it. One of the best ways to use AI, even if you want to use AI yourself as a lawyer, is that you might tell AI to draft portions of an agreement for you. But if you tell AI to draft all of the agreement, one of the first ways I would know would be just the format of the agreement alone. So we know the conventional ways you draft an agreement and we put, for instance, a signature column where parties sign and all of that. Typically, an AI drafted agreement would not follow some of those conventional forms, how you put those agreements, so you can easily tell from there. There would also sometimes be very glaring, sudden inconsistencies that you look at immediately and you can tell that, this was not even reviewed after it was drafted via AI. So that's just saying that clients do that a lot, and a lot of times they do it just because they don't use it as a plank to negotiate down your fees. And that even as a lawyer, you should not do that, because when you do a whole-scale agreement drafting with AI, it would always. What you can do is to say, prompt the AI to give you specifics. Say, for instance, can you draft an indemnity clause for me in a sale transaction, for raw minerals, for instance? Then it could give you that. Sometimes it's because you just want depth to something you have already drafted. You can now ask it to draft, ask another AI bot to draft the same thing but with a different context, and you can match the two, and usually might get a result that helps you maybe
Sorry, is that
see
my
something
chat?
you would have already skipped in that. But getting AI to draft. So can you hear me now? My apologies, my network glitched for a
Yeah,
minute.
we lost you for a minute, but it's fine.
Yes, so my answer is yes. Clients do it all the time, and as a lawyer, you must be on the lookout. And you also, as a lawyer, do not also do the same thing. Don't use AI to draft an agreement whole scale for a client. You can use AI to support drafting specific clauses, but not the entire thing. So that would be my answer. Thank you.
Sorry, Max, your answer has brought up a number of interesting things. It has also dovetailed into a question I wanted to ask. Let me see. In your practice, what are these tools? Because we've been saying AI, and I'm not sure we've agreed totally on what it is. What are these tools that you've used? Have they worked? Have they not worked? Which ones give you problems? Which ones have helped you the most? Enlighten us on how AI is helping the work that you do, so that some of us can also learn. But sorry, before we get to that, there are also some guiding rules. Please, everybody should mute their microphones. Speak if you know you have noise around you, ensure that it's not interfering. So we have some guide. Okay. The chairman also said I should tell you that we have some guidelines for the use of AI and other technologies. So to access them, the links will be shared. But let's take Max's question so that the steam doesn't blow off. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much, Uloma, for that. Like Afolasade rightly said when she started, that AI is already here. And it's not just that it's already here. You don't have to look for AI. AI has already found you where you are seated. Thankfully, our chair even mentioned when she started, Leonard Silk Boma Alabi, he mentioned that she just woke up and without her consent, without knowing it, she suddenly saw Meta AI, on her phone. So that's the reality of AI. So when I speak about AI, I tell people, of course, there's high-end AI, really customized AI, expensive. You need to pay a subscription for all of that. But around us, you don't even have to look for it. You don't even have to Google it. Around us already, we have these AI tools. Lots of them really helpful. Meta AI, for instance, is one example. I use Meta AI a lot, and I use it a lot of times because I'm on the road. I might not have access to my laptop, for instance, and I just quickly want context. So, I used Meta AI just this morning because a client called me to ask a question about delivery terms for, he's trying to buy lithium, a raw mineral, and he was arguing a little back and forth with the buyer about how the delivery terms should be. So he asked me, the idea is that I want to deliver these goods to them. But my problem is that their warehouse usually has a long waiting line. And before now, we have done business with them. We had this unique challenge where we went to deliver goods to them. And unfortunately, in the course of delivering these goods, some of the items were pilfered off the truck while the truck was parked in the queue waiting to go into their premises. So he wanted to know which Incoterms, delivery terms would be best for that transaction. Of course, I didn't have any of my books around. I really couldn't tell. So I just used one of the AI tools, and I'll share my screen and show you. It's called it's really easy to use AI tools. It's free, so you're not paying an arm and a leg for doing that. So I just want to be sure that I'm able to share my screen, and I'll just quickly show, one live example of, okay, yeah, thank you. I can share my screen. Yeah, so just confirm to me once you can see my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. So this is an AI tool called Perplexity. You don't even have to do any extensive downloads. You just go right to their website, perplexity.ai. You just log in or create an account, and you are good to go to start using it. So you can see that all I had to do was to prompt the AI and ask it a question earlier this morning. So you can see where my cursor is. So I asked the AI tool, Perplexity, which Incoterms delivery term is best for delivery of goods to a buyer's warehouse at seller's cost and risk? And then it quickly just gives me an idea. The best Incoterm for delivery is delivered at place, and then but it gives me further context and gives me the answer I wanted in the bullet point number 2. If you want the seller to also bear unloading costs, it tells me use delivery at place unloaded. So you can see how simple and quick this was, and I could get back to my client in a few minutes and give him an answer immediately, and you can see how satisfied he was. So this was a question that I would have needed to go back to my office, get one of my Incoterms, one of my commercial law books, and flip through, go to the table of contents, and still go. But you could see in the twinkle of an eye, I had an answer and back to the client. So this is one of the AI tools I use personally. It's free. You can use it. And, you don't even need any heavy duty infrastructure. You don't need to do any extensive downloads. Just go to your browser, log in, create an account, and you are good to go. So this would be one example and one I would recommend for any lawyer to use. Because then also, sorry, just before I leave off this, it's also that one of the reasons why I use Perplexity is that it gives me the source where I got this information from. So if you can see my screen, you see a little number 1 written there. Once I put my cursor on it, it tells me exactly where I got this from a law firm called Axeris Law LLC International. And I can follow that link and confirm how credible that organization needs to be sure that the information I'm being fed is credible information. So that's one of the reasons I use Perplexity, because it tells me where I got that information from. Meta AI doesn't do that by default. You need to ask it to give you the source, but Perplexity gives you the source by default. And then it's really easy for you to check out the source and see if you think it's credible and make that judgment call. So this is one AI tool I use and I would recommend to anyone to use even from today right away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, so very much. And your answers just, brought something to my mind before I go to Afolasade for the next question. So we know that AI is prone to hallucination. And by hallucination, it means, just like the human brain hallucinates when it's sick, or when somebody is very sick or has a condition, you start to hallucinate. So you can imagine a masquerade in front of you, even though there is nothing. AI does that, but it's done in such a way that when it doesn't have enough data, it doesn't have enough information, or the system is malfunctioning, it will just bring you one foolish fake information and make it look like it's real and give you fake citations, fake quotations, and you will run with it. Now, bearing that in mind, Afolasade, there are some countries that are using AI now, AI courts, that are taking care of little issues like maybe tax matters, maybe traffic offenses, maybe even small claim issues, matters that are based on small claims. Countries like China are already doing that because they don't have that many lawyers. So they're having to rely on AI. They have AI courts now. So I'm thinking, with this in mind, with all the issues around AI and all the controversies, do you think it's possible for us to have any courts or any judicial system or anything that is based on AI in Nigeria as we have it today? What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Uloma. I think that we have a long way to go if we want to start considering that. Because, we're still at this stage struggling with e-filing, struggling with, what do I say, automating the entire process. You now have to think about the staff for the courts. You now have to think about the infrastructure, basically. I think that in that regard, Nigeria has a long way to go. And I would say that the type of legal matters that we can currently use AI for in Nigeria are basically the things that we do in the offices. I think that for now, before we get to court automation, we can still use AI for legal research, case law analysis, Because AI can scan vast database and identify relevant cases, precedents, statutes in seconds. I mean, if you use the Law Pavilion and Legalpedia, you know that Nigerian case law is dense and often unstructured, but AI research tools can help us save time, increase accuracy, especially in litigation every practices. So before we get to the courts, I think that we should first stay where we are now.
Look at the law firms at least,
exactly.
and see how it can help us with our work.
Let's see how it can help us in legal research and case law analysis, how it can assist our judges when they have to write their judgments in research, because it's going to be a whole lot. We are still embracing it. We're still at this stage where we are still embracing it. I mean, we have AI springing up every now and then. I think I mentioned in our earlier discussion that a module AI law just launched about 7 days ago now, and what they intend to do is to transform legal research and case management in Nigeria. So I think that if we're able to use AI for the out of court tasks, then we can now, if we see how we are able to go, how far we're able to go, then we can now discuss how we can now invite the courts or automate the courts.
Well, speaking of, out of court tax, like for lawyer, where do you think we can integrate it? You've been saying legal research, reviews. Just give us realistic scenarios. What are the kind of tools we can use? How can we use them? Which ones are useful, which ones are not, and how can we make sure that it's not hallucinating and it's not giving us fake reviews and fake information?
Well, let me answer the last part of your question first. It's to make sure that AI is not hallucinating, you have to check. You are going to always have to check. And for where we are at now in Nigeria, I believe we can use AI for legal research, case law analysis, due diligence, document review, contract analysis, maybe regulatory compliance tracking. So I already said that AI can scan vast database in seconds. Like AI can scan Law Pavilion, and I know that many of us should know that there's Prime GPT that is attached to Law Pavilion. We have Legalpedia, we have Model Lawyer that was launched 7 days ago, and particularly about Model Lawyer, their software is intended to transform legal research and case management in Nigeria. So the platform is set to allow users to search through 10,000 Nigerian judgments, including judgments from the Supreme Court, from the Court of Appeal, and National Industrial Court rulings. So you just need to prompt the chat box with questions that you have, and you get relevant case law in seconds. If it Prime GPT by Law Pavilion can even help you further. It will help you draft statement of claims, defense, and then generate issues for determination. It even drafts briefs of arguments. But remember, you still have to check for accuracy. As it relates to regulatory compliance tracking, Nigerian regulatory landscape, especially with the NCC, that's Nigerian Communications Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, NAFDAC, Central Bank of Nigeria, then the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. They're dynamic. They're always releasing regulation that helps them in executing their supervisory oversight. So AI can help us in this area to track updates in regulation. It will map out your compliance obligations for different sectors and then alert you for deadlines and changes in regulations. I mean, you can now take it further. You can now sync those deadlines automatically to your firm's calendar, then you get notifications just before those deadlines. Also, for document review and contract analysis, AI can flag inconsistencies. It can track your obligations. It can suggest clause alternatives using pretend models. So standard contracts that we use, let's say tenancy agreements, leases, employment contracts that are often used by Nigerian law firms, it can help you in this regard. So automating initial drafts and reviews would help us focus on strategy. It means that we don't have to put all our hours into research like we would. Maybe if we spend 3 hours in the past, we'll now spend like 1 hour and a half. And, remember that the best lawyers now in today's age are not just technically skilled. We are creative, we are adaptive, and we are capable of tailoring drafts generated by this AI to generate still our clients' unique circumstances.
Thank you so much. Max, I'll still take this question back to you. I wanted Afolasade to just touch on the peripheral, but with your confidence in AI and how far we've seen that you've gone, I'm just trying to ask, imagine that, let's say the small claims courts or the mobile courts that deal with traffic offenses, or who knows which other courts that will be replaced by AI, maybe, Lagos knows how to lead things like this. We'll just say, you know what, if your claim is XYZ, refer it to www.something.io or something.ai,
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Loma. I mean, it will be it's an interesting prospect. So, what has happened in China and also to an extent in Dubai? Dubai has what they call a court of the future. It's kind of an initiative where they're trying to bring a blockchain court and all that. In China as well, they already have those internet courts. But what happens is that what we need to understand is that the shift to an AI court is a paradigm shift. It's not just a shift, in terms of the same paradigm we have of how we resolve disputes. So there'll be a complete shift for it to work. So in an AI dispute resolution service, for instance, it will be the normal my lord and all of that. It will be more of a system implemented solution where parties submit their dispute, but dispute is submitted in a particular format where an AI can easily grasp and contend it. So this dispute will be simple disputes like maybe online purchase transactions where the underlying fact of the transaction is captured already in data form. The person uses his card to make a payment, and then the website advertised the particular goods he was selling with a particular description, which is also captured by that website. So when the customer is making a complaint, he takes a picture, for instance, of what was delivered to him, and then the AI software is able to use character identification, object identification to actually review the object that was delivered to the customer and compare it to the object that was advertised on the website and determine whether it was actually what he applied. So I mean, we all make fun about the Chinese website Temu, for instance, that people are always complaining, this is what I ordered, this is what I got. So those kinds of disputes can be optimized and can easily be resolved by an AI model. But if it becomes a real dispute of emotions, of human toil and sweat and blood and argument, definitely an AI will not be able to get into all of those things that, the baggages that we have as human beings. So even if there's going to be this kind of thing, and if it ever work, then we'd have to carefully look at the kinds of disputes. So using the example of Lagos, for instance, I happen to just be in Lagos and I'll be running to the airport to come back to Abuja soon. So Uloma, I'll leave you with Lagos. But I saw the cameras, the speed cameras, for instance, installed on Mobolaji Bank Anthony Way heading to Lagos Airport. So those kinds of disputes now, you can subject them to an AI review where if you are caught going beyond the speed limit, dispute goes to an AI evidence, for instance, and that AI bot can easily resolve it because the underlying fact was captured digitally by the camera, the speed camera in question. So you can see that kind of dispute is easy to resolve through AI. But if you want to use a dispute that involves the human element, that is where AI would likely fall apart. We'll be able to cope with that overload of human sentiment, human emotion, human idiosyncrasy, and all those things that make us human beings. So that might be where, like Afolasade rightly said at the beginning, where AI can't really replace us yet, because we are masters at understanding the subtlety of human nature, of human emotion, of knowing how to buy into the bias of a judge and all that. AI is not going to be able to navigate all of that yet. So if we want to experiment with it, we can start with, and even in China and everywhere else, what they do is to start with those little things. In the US, they're trying to do insurance contracts. So when there's a road crash, the idea is that the AI can simply get the data based on the location of the accident from the GPS unit in any of the vehicles. It looks for the closest security camera and is able to get security footage from all of that place, tell who exactly was coming from what direction, at what speed, and can easily make a judgment because, again, all the evidence was captured digitally. So maybe we could experiment with that. But like Afolasade also said, and I agree with that, maybe we should get some of our other issues right, first of all. The e-filing, for instance, is something we have struggled with, which we should not struggle with at all. So maybe when we get those things right, then we can think of building up, building up on them as well.
Thank you so much. Before I go to Afolasade, someone dropped a question. So maybe Max, you can help us. Name is Augustine Ngwa. He said, the challenge for me is in understanding the limitation and use of AI. Is in understanding how AI is created. So maybe he's just wondering, where is this AI coming from that suddenly want to give it responsibility like this? But in a legal context, you can just help us do a peripheral overview, and then before we go straight to the next question.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much. It's a good question, Augustine, you ask. But again, I always tell people, one reasons why we can to an extent trust AI is that AI has actually been there for a long time. I mean, the term AI itself, or at least the principles on which AI seem to have taken off, were formed by a scientist, I think in 1950s.
53 years, 1953.
A man called Alan Turing. So, and he built up from there. So even as between AI and the law, for instance, I have a flyer that shows a conference in 1987. The title of that conference in Boston, Massachusetts was Artificial Intelligence and the Law. So it's been a long time coming. But what has happened, why we suddenly have AI look like it's a new thing, was because a major breakthrough happened in the area called large language models, LLMs. So what large language models mean, a simple way I can explain it, this is not very technical, I'm just trying to break it down to its basics, is that you need to understand that computers have a different way of understanding to us humans. So for instance, language as we know it is contained of two components, semantics, which is on one side. So semantics really is, talks about the rules of language, syntax, talks about the rules of language, how you form a sentence, how you form a word, and all of that, and punctuations and all of that. So syntax is very easy to understand and program into a computer because it's simply a set of rules. If you want to form the word read, just put together the letter R, E, A, and D, and you get the word read. So that is very easy for computers to understand. Computers have understood that for a long time. What computers have struggled with before now was semantics. Semantics is the objective way we understand language. So these are rules that are learned objectively, not subjectively. So computers struggle with understanding semantics, how to put meaning to words. So a typical example of the word read that I use now, the syntax of forming the word read is to simply add the letters R, E, A, and D. But then in the same English language, the same word R, E, A, and D can also be pronounced and mean read, which is the past tense of read. So a computer will struggle with understanding that because that's a semantic issue, not a syntax issue. So what happened with the breakthrough that led to the current phase of AI that's made AI popular is that scientists were able to now find a way to program computers efficiently where the computer can take in a large bundle of data, large written works, and then learn from those works how to understand the semantics of language. Before now, computers couldn't do this because the processing power of taking in maybe 70 million or 70 billion words and processing them, the computers of the latter days could not do that. But because of breakthrough in computer processing power, it's now possible to feed one computer the whole Nigerian Weekly Law reports, the whole Law Pavilion Law reports from 1970-something, feed it the whole Library of Congress in the US, feed all that information to one computer. So the computer now understands that, from repeated use of language, it's now able to understand how language works in terms of semantics. So that was a breakthrough that ChatGPT actually came up with, what they call the generative progressive transformer, a way of transforming that large language into understandable human speech. So that is what led to the current era that makes it look like AI is a new thing. It's not a new thing. So AI is still going forward beyond this phase. So one of the reasons, why we can trust AI to an extent is that it's been time tested and trusted. It has come through a process. It's not yet home and dry, but it's not where it used to be before. So we can trust AI to an extent that, yes, this thing has gone through a process and there's a logic behind how it developed to this point.
This one is computer science 101. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I wish I was writing because I was already learning, and I'm very, very certain that it's not only for Augustine, but for those of us on the call, you've really done a lot to answer this question. So thank you very much. So I'm going to, sorry, my lights went off, but it's so common. I'm going to Afolasade now. What are the obstacles that you've experienced in terms of working with AI or letting AI help you do some of your, not do some of your work, but help you assist you in some of your work? What are the obstacles that you've seen? Is it costs? Is it in trusting the AI system? What are those obstacles that you've experienced in the use of AI in your work?
Thank you very much. At this point, I would say that whatever obstacles I had was in the past, because I mean, my office provides most of this infrastructure, but like I would speak to the biggest obstacles that I used to encounter and you can encounter if you're just starting to use AI. So the biggest challenges are more in the areas of cost, the infrastructure limitation, the traditional mindset that, oh, we've been doing this since 1930, we cannot now change now. And then there are the data privacy concerns. So of course, because of these AI models, because they are built to do a lot, I mean, to help us, they can actually cost really, really. I mean, and if you're using ChatGPT, let's say because it's priced in a foreign currency and we have the naira that is not stable, then it means that you have to pay more or you feel like you're paying so much. Like for you to use ChatGPT Plus, you have to pay $20 per month. Same goes for Prime GPT. I think it's 100,000 per year. For me, well, thankfully, I work in a place that is embracing technology, so these are things that we automatically get. But for a young lawyer that is just trying to embrace this might be too much cost. Then for module lawyer that just started, I know they have prices from 30K, 30,000 monthly, and they have, I think, yearly up to like 500,000. So these are things that you want to consider. You want to consider the cost first. Then on infrastructure limitation, you want to consider electricity. We're in Nigeria. You also want to consider reliable internet. And then you want to consider the cost of monthly subscription. I mean, you can have internet, you can pay for it, but is it stable? That could actually hinder your smooth use of these cloud-based AI platforms. The traditional mindset that I spoke about is we're still at this stage where we're trying to get the seniors understand that AI can be used, and it does not mean that we're lazy. I mean, thankfully at BBSC, we embrace the use of technology and we will always leverage it where it makes our work easier. But imagine you as a junior lawyer telling your boss that, oh, you're waiting for AI to generate the first draft
I was
for
going to ask
a
you
document.
that.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you,
I mean,
if they tell you to print, you were asked to just prepare something. Sorry, I cut you short. You're just drafting a contract, and then in 1 minute, let me not say 1 minute, maybe 20 minutes, contract generated by AI but vetted by you and shortened your time. And then you present it, and it's like, so what happened? What are you going to say?
yeah, so those are things that you will actually have to consider. So, like, as a junior lawyer, imagine telling your boss that is just starting to embrace the use of technology. You're now trying to, you will first be viewed as, oh, so you're not using a cheat code. You're lazy. But you need to convince them to trust the process. Using AI shouldn't reduce the quality of your work. It should rather improve it. Senior lawyers would always prefer manual methods. They always prefer, they want to see you holding a law report. But you have to help them understand that, oh, the technology has helped our work so much that we can advance and leave this stage. We don't have to spend hours researching. We just can now spend our time correcting or checking for the accuracy of the results that we get. I understand the fear, but it's not easy to just embrace a switch, but we're going to have to trust the process. Another concern that I think that we might have in using these AI models is the data privacy concerns. You know that we always, as lawyers, handle confidential matters. So we need to be careful about the prompts that we give these chatbots. Remember that these AI chatbots are reviewed regularly for improvements. So you don't want somebody that is conducting a review of, let's say, ChatGPT to see that you were doing something for a client, this is the client, and they know everything about your client. So what I would normally do is anonymize my client's name
Exactly.
in my prompts.
Put
And this way,
ABCD in their names. Party
exactly.
AB and party XYZ.
Exactly. So even as they help our work, we shouldn't now get lazy with it. Our output should be better. So we can navigate these challenges. I mean, we already know for infrastructure limitation, you know that you can maybe get stable internet. If your area MTN works better, you get it. For cost, well, I will speak more about it when as we progress. Yeah, but those are the major challenges for now.
Sorry, I'll still take you up again because
Okay.
now I'm hearing all kinds of things anonymized. In fact, Max came in and gave us computer science 101. So it's making me think when we went to law school. I went to law school in 19 let me talk like Igbo people. I went to law school a long time ago. This is actually my 20th year, you know. And then we have people that went to law school longer than what we did. And what we were taught was the regular civil procedure, the regular everything. Nobody told us we're going to see AI. Nobody told us we're going to, there's someone called AI that may take part of our job. So what does it leave for us? What are you saying we should now do as lawyers? Are you saying we should go and enroll in a computer science class or in an AI class? Or what? You know, what does it leave? Because ChatGPT came out in 2022, and I'm not talking about January. This is November. And less than 2 years or less than 3 years, we're already here. So I don't know where we'll be in 5 years. What do you think that means for lawyers? Is it that when we're doing law on one side, we should be studying computer science on another side? Or what should we do to upskill?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I mean, when Mark was answering the question earlier and he started to talk about the LMMs, and I mean, it took me back to my days in uni. And in UI, I always make jokes with my friends now and say that I would not let my child study law in UI because in University of Ibadan, by the way, UI is University of Ibadan, because they made us take a course in computer science. And I didn't really do well when I took it in my second year and really affected my GPA. So what we are saying, I mean, I would interpret your question to mean the need to upskill.
Yes.
So we're not saying you should go and start become another person or start to take an entire degree. What we're saying about upskilling for Nigerian lawyers in this age, it's not that we want you to become a programmer. We're not saying become a tech wizard. We are just saying you should build the right blend of digital, legal, and strategic skills that will enhance your legal practice in this age. So I'll first speak about legal tech literacy. So legal tech literacy is understanding how legal technology works. We're not asking you to build it. So why this matters is tools like contract automation software, legal research platforms. I mean, if you use Law Pavilion, you had to learn how to put what you needed. So, and I mean, this matters because of AI writing assistants. They are becoming standard. So what you should learn for these things is, or in this aspect for your legal tech literacy, is how to use these tools for document review, how to use them for case research, for workflow automation, familiarize yourself with practice management software, understand how to evaluate and implement tech for your firm. Then another part where you want to upskill in is in prompt engineering for legal AI tools. And what this means is learning how to ask the right questions to get the most out of these AI tools, like ChatGPT, CoCounsel, Perplexity. I mean, why this matters is AI can draft contracts, it can summarize judgments and brainstorm arguments, but you have to prompt it correctly. What you should learn is how to craft detailed contextual prompts for legal tasks. Say I mean, if I want to prompt ChatGPT, for example, I'll just say, please draft a clear and concise confidential clause for a commercial agreement between two tech companies. You now explain, you go further to explain that the clause should address mutual confidentiality. Define what confidentiality entails. Outline permitted disclosures. I mean, we know that regardless of how you want to have a confidentiality clause, there are instances where the courts would order disclosure. So these are things like how, for instance, the example that I've given, it helps with clarity. It helps the AI understand what you want. It helps the AI understand the type of agreements that you want. It also lists out, the prompt will list out the specific elements that the clause should contain. And it also notes the desired writing style. So you now say that the tone should be natural. The tone should be formal but readable for non-lawyers. Because if you draft and the layman does not understand, then you've not communicated. Another aspect that you might want to look at is understanding AI and its application in law. You don't need to build AI, but you must understand what it can do and cannot do in legal work. So this helps you decide when to use AI tools and where human oversight is required and how you have to explain it to your client. So the core concepts of natural language processing, I mean, you can learn them on surface level, but you will get enough knowledge to actually use this AI model. Another thing that you would want to learn in this day and age of AI is digital communication and personal branding. I'm sure that I want to assume that everybody that is online here has heard about LinkedIn, newsletters, virtual events. Thankfully, you're holding one now. So you have to build a digital presence and communicate value online. And these AI models, they can help you. These technology is actually helping us more than we think now. So upskilling is not saying that you should become a tech programmer. It's just becoming the future-ready lawyer, the one that understands the tools of this age and is able to use them to serve your clients smarter and faster.
Well, thank you. Well, so what you're saying is, in summary, when you say prompt engineering, people just get frightened like, engineering, law, what's this relationship? But basically what it means is learn how to talk to AI. Exactly. So you're looking at AI now as your assistant, like somebody in your office. So you give the instructions to the T. Don't leave them anything for assumption. Otherwise, AI will give you that generically painful thing that it gives to people that, and start using all those words, nuance, and some of those stupid words that it brings in when you don't prompt it very well. Sorry, I'm still going to come back to you, Afolasade. So with all the things you're saying, you work in a law firm that supplies, that ensures that you have the right AI subscriptions. Not everybody has that privilege. So what does it now mean for small firms, people that are just starting out, 3 years at the bar, 4 years at the bar, 2 years at the bar, they want to run their own show in their small space. But are they going to be able to pay all this money? Some will tell you, $20 a month, some 100 a year, and all that. And when you look at your other costs of running the office, it now means that maybe if you're a small law firm and you don't have that much money, you're going to be at a disadvantage in future. Or what do you think can come up to address these inequalities?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I believe that there's a risk that the use of AI can deepen inequality in the legal profession. And like I said, when I was identifying the obstacles, I mean, we have the issue of cost, the infrastructure, the training. I mean, I just spoke about upskilling. Thankfully, I mean, my own boss, that's Mr. Isaiah Buzumoyesen, is very tech advanced. So most of the things that I know and that I now use now, it was the one that actually maybe started and then told us, oh, you can use this thing. And forward thinking, I'm blessed. So the risks for inequality mostly lies in access to these costly AI tools. So big firms can the premium AI legal platforms and integrate them into workflow. Then, but small law firms, I mean, I'm just starting my practice. You don't expect me to now add that to the list of things that I have to now pay for. It can be burdensome. Then there is the area of training and tech support. I mean, because we already use AI in my office, I can tell my boss that, oh, from this time to this time, I want to take a course on prompt engineering, and it will be understood, because it means that I am trying to increase my output in on my tasks. So larger firms can maybe invest in continuous legal tech training and higher IT support, but lawyers in smaller towns can find it hard to actually upskill the way that we want. Then there is the data connectivity issues. I mean, you manage to pay the data subscription that MTN is now giving to us, and then it's not still stable. We've identified these risks now. How do we deal with them? First thing is, we should promote access to affordable AI tools. I mean, thankfully, we can use ChatGPT for free, but if you want it to work better, you can actually pay the monthly subscription. But then that's where MBA comes in. That's where MBA SLP comes in. We can actually negotiate group discounts or access licenses. We can maybe approach module law, because they are actually, for us, they are Nigerian specific. We can, the same way that we did with Law Pavilion, we can negotiate a group discount. So for lawyers that are going to use, let's say, module law, please give us a discount. So it means that the discount applies from whether you work with a big law firm or a small tier law firm, you have access to the discount. Then we can also invest in training for all. Thankfully, we see what an MBSLP is doing now. We have a training on how AI and law works together. So we can now have it integrated even in law school, so that they know that as they're coming out from law school, it's not just going to sleep in the library and checking through indexes. You can actually simply go through the Law Pavilion. I mean, Law Pavilion helps. We can have trainings specific for this. We can have like short courses on prompt engineering, lawyer specific. Then we can even share access. I mean, on MBSLP groups, we can, or any other section, can share access to webinars, free tutorials, something that will bridge the gap for Nigerian lawyers. Then we can also encourage community practices. If I've used this, like I'm telling you, you can actually approach me and ask me how I have used it. Marx uses Perplexity. He can speak more about it and let us know how it has helped him, the things that the normal challenges that he would sometimes encounter, and how he's able to navigate it. And while we are doing all this for Nigerian lawyers, we must not leave the judiciary and institutions like the Legal Aid Council out of it. We also need our public defenders to be up to par with private lawyers. They should not be left out, because it will only widen out the access to justice. Then we can also encourage and develop localized AI tools. I mean, we see module law AI, what they've done. We can also, if we see lawyers that have the dream, lawyers that maybe worked in the tech sector and can now help us, they understand better what we need. So they are in the right position to actually advise the leadership of NBA or the Ministry of Justice on how to develop localized AI tools. So, I mean, these are things that we can use to undo the inequality that the use of AI models can cause.
Well, thank you very much. While you were talking, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, while you were talking, somebody was, before I go to Max, somebody dropped an interesting question. That's from Janet. And she said, what are the legal implications of using AI in research paper or draft creation? And then you're claiming the ownership. I'm sure for her it's an ethical thing. Like, this for Max now, before I go to the next question. I'm sure for her it's an ethical thing. Like, you just sat there and AI generated something for you, and you're claiming who told you drafted it? What ethical implications do we see in this kind of issues?
Yeah, so the issue of authorship of a work of intellectual property is always a contentious issue. So for instance, in the research space, to put it beyond contention, most institutions will have clear rules. So most institutions have brought out clear rules on use of AI, in their institution or in handling work related to them. But however, one of the a piece of work for does not have an opinion and necessarily take away your authorship of that work. The reason is that, number one, you generated a prompt that set the AI up to produce that answer. That's on one footing. The other footing is that we need to understand that AI is just like any other tool that helps us. So if I use my
Oh, sorry, Max.
laptop to type up a work of research, does that affect? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Okay, my apologies. Sorry, that was a little interruption. So I was saying that using the analogy, for instance, of using a computer to type up nobody make a serious. Oh dear, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So I'm saying, the computer sometimes also like, essentially an aid. So just the same way I could use my computer to type up a research work and nobody's going to think that in any way interferes with my authorship of that work, even though the computer made it easier and faster for me. So to an extent, AI also makes it easier and faster for you. But however, to put those things beyond that and ensure people are not left with that ethical dilemma, most institutions will tell you clearly, do not use AI in your research work for an institution. Or if you use it, acknowledge, put somewhere clearly on it that you used AI and all of that. So those rules actually is what would set the ethical framework when you use AI in your research. But I would say that on a plain basis and on a theoretic basis, the use of AI necessarily does not interfere with the authorship, of that work.
Okay, so now to my question. Sorry, something just fell. Now to my question. I'm trying to imagine, something in future. Like now that AI is analyzing cases, it's analyzing judgment. So AI in Law Pavilion will tell you what the likely outcome of a case will be. So I'm imagining you have a case and then AI tells you, based on what you have told me, your client and party ABC, this case has 5% or 2% chances of success based on what I've seen judges do on cases like this. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell your clients that, this our case may not fly you? Or are you going to say, you know what, AI, you have said 2%. Me, I'm saying 100%. I'm going ahead with it. How do you balance that ethical dilemma?
Yeah, so this is another interesting ethical issue, essentially, because part of the rules of professional conduct is that a lawyer owes a duty of candor. That means if your client's case is bad, you ought to, tell him clearly that his case is bad, and you ought to, even the rules of court to say that you have to file a pre-action counseling certificate where you say, look, I've informed my client of the chance of success and the possibility of a settlement through any of the ADR connected mechanisms, and then the person decides to go ahead with the case. So for me, the AI element is just an additional layer of the background research you did to arrive at a decision whether you think your client has a good case or not. So because you're not outsourcing that role to the AI, since you are the one who has been retained and paid and who went to Nigerian law school, and the AI did not essentially go to Nigerian law school and doesn't hold a practicing license. So the AI could, in a sense, give you a recommendation that based on my knowledge and the information bank available to me, courts have always decided this case this way. Therefore, I give your client an X percentage chance of success. But I mean, of course, you might have other information that AI doesn't have. And sometimes your client wants to press the case on principle and wants to go ahead with the case. But what I think would be unethical is to hide that information from your client. You ought to make that information available and then give justification why, despite their assessment from the AI, despite contrary decision from the Supreme Court, this is why you believe this case has a good chance of success. You must justify that to the client and show the exercise of your own professional opinion that, how you arrived at that conclusion. But to now simply hide that information away from your client and say, look, you have a 100% chance of success, and pretend that, and you, of course, you had done your background check and the AI listed 10 judgments, for instance, and told you that in all 10 judgments, the case went this way. So ignoring all of that and not giving your client a fair impression of what happened would definitely be unethical. But however, I'd say that at a baseline, AI is not to dictate to you what the chances of success are. It's a professional judgment you have to make, and the AI is only one of the inputs you use to make and arrive at that decision. But you must not discount the AI, and you must explain if you are going contrary to the AI. Just the same way you show a client why you think, contrary to an established Supreme Court authority, for instance, why you think his case maybe is distinguished on certain maybe factual basis or on certain new policy directions that you perceive is occurring. So you must have a justification, but you can't simply turn a blind eye and pretend that it never happened. That would be unethical.
If I may add, Max, I think I mentioned at the start of this session that AI is good in the aspects of calculating things that are repetitive, things that are based on data. And I think that AI still very much lacks the critical thinking ability that we have as lawyers. I mean, the legal strategy, the creative legal strategy ability that we have from years of human experience of practicing. So if AI, for instance, tells me that I have a 20% chance at winning, I won't even be bothered. I would inform my client, yes, if they know that I use AI. But I would also want them to understand that I know how things can move or shift in their favor. And also, what does AI actually know or define to be a win? So a win for my clients might be not paying the damages of 10 million and paying just 2. I still won. But AI has calculated based on maybe 10 cases, and I can win on quantum, but I didn't win, like I didn't get the damages not awarded against my client. So I think that AI can calculate, but we are still the ones that have the power to, from experience, to actually think of solutions for our clients. So yeah, that's my addition.
Thank you so much. We've actually done over an hour. I was thinking this would be like max 1 hour. We've not even taken questions, and I'm sure we'll have quite a number. But this is actually my last question from me, but I wanted to take this question and then let people be preparing their minds before we finish answering these questions. What questions are you going to ask? What have you heard from what we've been saying so far? This is supposed to be an engaging session. We've been the ones talking. But soon it's going to be your turn. But let me ask Max, what AI tools do you think we should watch in the next 5 years? Do you think they've been created, or do you think it's something that will wake up one morning, just like we saw Meta AI on our phones? We'll just see what AI. In fact, let me even digress a bit. I was browsing on Instagram. I saw this AI boyfriend, and I kid you not. It's AI boyfriend, AI girlfriend, a human being. It will ask you, what kind of man do you want? You will say, I want him fair, tall, dark-skinned, blah, blah. This is the character I want. They will ask you, do you want him to be serious-minded? What kind of job do you want him to do? They will now model the person, bring out the person virtually, and you guys will be doing video calls. But there is nobody like that. And in fact, the advert the guy was saying it was during Christmas, and the guy was saying, let's make your Christmas more interesting. What are your plans for Christmas? I'll be your boyfriend, something like that. And then yesterday or so, I saw somebody said there's an AI developed by Nigerians or so, but abroad, and it's called Omiife. In Igbo, Omiife means somebody who does things, like Omoshe, something like that. And then they said it can do household chores, it can be used for agriculture, it can be used for, it's been developed. This was as of last week. I don't know about deployment, but being developed, yes, it has been developed. So that's making me think. I'm wondering what 5 years' time will be. What are the things you think we should be looking forward to? Do you think we already have them? Or are there things should we think of abracadabra and, it will just happen?
Yeah. Thank you. So, I mean, with a field like AI, we should always be looking at what is coming next, because with this field of technology, what is coming next is always is always mind-blowing compared to what we have already seen now. So one of the innovations in AI that I've been tracking for a while is a concept called computational contracts. Now, I've heard about smart contracts. Smart contracts essentially are computer codes that self-execute. So they are not necessarily contracts the way we know legal contracts. there are more of computer codes, more of computing than law. But now, the folks in Stanford University in the US have been chasing an idea. Now, this is the rough way the idea works now. Their thinking is that the current AI that we see, is equivalent to a human person who has gone to primary school, who has gone to secondary school, and has learned general knowledge, can speak, can understand, can understand social relations. But the issue now is that taking that human person to make him a specialist in a field needs maybe a university education. Say, for instance, a lawyer goes to university and then goes on to law school. So they are trying to do a new version of AI now, where the idea is that current AI is that AI can now understand human language and respond in human language. But they now want to go further to say, can we now make computers now begin to think in specialist concepts? So, for instance, legal concept, because legal reasoning is different from just understanding English. Anybody who goes to primary and secondary school can read a law textbook and try to answer some questions, but he won't be able to balance it out and bring out legal principles. He needs to be taught legal principles to be able to do that. So that's what they are looking at now. So one of the branches of that development they are researching currently is a branch called contract definition language. Yeah, so contract definition language. Okay, so contract definition language, like we mentioned earlier, we talked about the large language models, which is what pioneered the current wave of AI. But the contract definition language essentially is that they're trying to say, how can we express contract language in code form that computers can easily understand them, interpret them, and by themselves generate that language and be able to govern the entire process. So it's called computational contracts. It's an interesting field. They are still battling with it. They have not exactly gotten it right, but those are the same folk who always do a test called AI takes the bar exam. So if you remember, when the first version of ChatGPT came out, it took the US bar, I think New York bar exams, and it had a pass grade of somewhere around 48%. But lately, when ChatGPT 4.0 came out, they did the same test, and it scored almost about it scored almost about 75% or thereabout. I mean, but it was in kind of the 10th percentile of the best students who would have taken that same test. So that's where we are headed now, where AI becomes a specialist matter. It's no longer a generalist thing. The current AI we have is sort of generalist, but we now want AI that will now be specialist, that can actually operate within the context of a specialist field. So that is one interesting area. I mean, we don't have a timeline because we're hoping a breakthrough comes through, but maybe 5 years, maybe 7 years, maybe 10 years. Of course, it could also be a matter of 7 months. Somebody hits something immediately, and the next thing we hear is that we now have AIs that can accurately design a legal agreement and implement that agreement with accuracy as much as a human can. So lots of interesting things we should be looking forward to.
Where would that now leave us? Is now we're saying AI does not understand this, does not understand that. So where does that leave us if we're going to have specialist AIs?
So when that happens, one of the examples I always give people is one industry you can look at in history that faced the technological revolution and lost out are the weavers. So of course, in pre-18th century in Europe, weaving was a very reputable profession. People who would weave fabric with their hands. So when the technology of the weaving machine came through, these guys were alarmed that this thing is coming to take our jobs. So they even got radical to the point where they were actually going to factories and burning down the equipment. But of course, they were not able to prevail. So one of my theories is that because lawyers are among the elite of society, the lawmakers are actually largely lawyers, maybe we might be able to use our influence at lawmaking level to keep technology at bay. Maybe we might, but the danger is that even if you succeed in your own country to say, let's ban AI use in legal proceedings, for instance, if AI use legal proceedings allowed in other countries, then it means that your country becomes uncompetitive. People migrate to the place where it is cheaper and easier to use technology. So even in what happened in England also, that there was a period where the weavers were able to lobby the English Parliament to put certain tariff and some sort of restrictions on using those machines. But what happened was that in mainland Europe, in Germany, those machines were being used. So ultimately, of course, the merchants would go to Germany, buy the cheaper fabric and sell. And over time, you still end up losing your job. So it's a scenario where we might be able to hold it back for a while because we are within the elite of society, but don't hold it back. it's as good, your guess is as good as mine. I won't be able to hold it back for long. Technology is like a moving train. You might slow it down a little bit, but I doubt if we can stop it. So the time will come where we would have to evolve. We will not. So what will happen is that this evolution will take a generation. So what will happen is that by the time our children, for instance, need to see that this AI is taking the jobs, they might stop reading law and start reading computer science. So the evolution would happen in a way that would not, it won't happen in just one day and just make all of us redundant and put us on the streets immediately. It will evolve over time, and then it will just simply mean that we'll begin to phase out gradually, and a new evolved role for dispute resolution and what lawyers do would, evolve naturally over time. So it might not be as dangerous as you think it is, but we have to still be on the watch out.
In fact, you just brought something
let me
to
add,
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, so also add is that another way also that AI will take jobs from lawyers that we don't look at is that it might, so for instance, it will reduce the appetite, for instance, of in-house commercial organizations to retain external counsel. Even internal in-house law departments will also be trimmed down when you no longer need too many people to do the same job. So you can see that it's not sometimes a frontal attack, it's a creeping attack that comes from the side, not face on. So yeah.
If I may add to what you said, it just made something come to my mind. When I started my practice, I don't know how many of you were, around at the time. I'm sure, of course, I'm seeing some very senior people here. But when I started my practice, every law firm had a typist that used to type processes. So lawyers would draft their processes with biro and then give it to the typist to type. And then before the processes are filed. Why I was even lucky, I started my practice in the East before I came to Lagos. And we had a type, I was just lucky that then I used to just, because I was quite young, I'll just go there and start typing and tell her, let me type my processes. I'll type it like that, do the jaga, she'll arrange it for me. So by the time I crossed over to Lagos, where everybody was doing their things themselves, but that now shows you that those people who were typists for many years for lawyers, I'm sure there are no law firms now that have typists. There is no lawyer that will draft process now with biro. I doubt that. So that puts a lot of things in our mind. And that being said, I think this is the time to open the floor. So that will take like some 15, 20 minutes and answer questions before we close. I think it has been a very, very informative session, at least for me. I don't know about others. But please let me take your questions. You can raise your e-hand or you can type in the chat. I'll read it and then I'll read it out and get one of the speakers to answer it for you. Thank you very much. So questions? Okay. The chairman of the committee said all questions in the chat, please. That also helps and makes it more organized. So please let me take your questions. I'll be seeing them in the chat. I've seen some comments actually, especially those that are trying to add to what the speakers have said. Somebody said technology relies on infrastructure, and if we don't have the right infrastructure, we're still playing. I agree with that, but with what has been going on, it looks like the infrastructures are creating themselves, or people are just finding their way one way or the other. Okay, somebody said they are typists in Ikeja High Court. Okay, I mean, but at least they don't use typewriters. They use computer. All right, please, more questions.
Okay, Uloma, while the questions are coming up, I want to also show another quick demo, another good tool that I would encourage everyone to use.
Please
Google,
go ahead.
Google Notebook LM. So
Yeah.
I'll be sharing my screen and just explain what it does. But Google Notebook LM, in a sense, is an AI that allows you define exactly how you want to use the AI in terms of you are the one who feeds the source information you want the AI to essentially give you responses from. So I'll just quickly share my screen and show how that works. But it's a very interesting software. So essentially, it runs off the back of the Google Gemini platform that we already know. But it's a simple interface as well. All you have to do is you just Google. If I want you just Google Google Notebook, you get it. It's also, again, like I said, these are simple software. You don't need to do an extensive download and all of that. Just on your browser, you can use it directly. So what it does is that if you look at my screen now, you see that on the left, I have a list of documents PDF documents I uploaded: Evidence Act 2011, FCT Civil Procedural Rules 2025, FCT District Court Rules 2021, the Supreme Court Rules 2024, the Child Rights Act Enforcement Rules. So with this now, what it does is that I can ask specific questions and get specific answer. So you are in court, for instance, and you know you have read the rules or you have read Evidence Act. There's a provision in Evidence Act that allows you to tender a document, a previous statement of a witness to the witness in cross-examination. But sometimes flipping through, going to the table of contents and looking can take you quite a while, or you would have to maybe ask your associate appearing to you in court to help you quickly get that section that says this or that. And sometimes it can be troublesome. So with this tool, you can easily get that. Now, the good thing about this tool, just like Perplexity, is that when you ask a question, so like the last question I asked, you can see the question here. I asked it a question: what is the default fee for late filing at the Supreme Court? And then it gives me an answer, and it gives me points. So those points are actual excerpts taken from the rules that I've uploaded. It's showing me exactly what provision in the rule says that. So I wanted to know specific penalties, for instance, under the FCT High Court rules. And I asked it that question. It will show me. So you can see that each of these points takes me to a specific provision in the rules that tells me what the penalty is for instance, penalty for default to amend after the court has given you leave to amend. You can also see the penalties for default for general late filing. So you can see that this gives you a quick way. And usually also why this is helpful is that sometimes you might read the rules yourself and you see one provision and you skip another provision. But with an AI tool, it's able to dig out every provision in the rule that talks about default penalties and is able to bring all of them before you. So that way you're able to get your answers quickly. And you can always toggle. So I can try to switch off the source I wanted to answer my question from. So I can switch off the Evidence Act, switch off the District Court rules, switch off the Child Rights Enforcement rules. I can get this now to give me an analysis between the FCT High Court rules and the Supreme Court rules, for instance, on page limit and things like that. So there's a lot you can do with this. And why this is, of course, Google promises you that every document you put here, they will not use it for the training data behind, for the AI behind it. That means they are guaranteed some sort of confidentiality. But if you have read, and which I encourage you to do, the chairman of the SLP tech committee has put the rules that MBA actually made. It was developed by the MBA SLP, and the overall MBA adopted it for the use of AI in legal practice. You need to understand some of the issues of data privacy. So for instance, it will not be advisable to upload a live pleading, for instance, with your client's name, his address, and his personal confidential details into this platform, and need to ask it questions. Of course, they promise you they won't do it, but we know how these technology companies can be. We never can trust it. So you must put in that doc here. One of the wise things you should do is redact it. That means you simply go to everywhere your client's name appears and change it to XXX. Everywhere his phone number, his email address, and other personal data appears, you can change it to something blank. So that when you put it in here, or you can put Jane Doe or Richard Doe, some fictional name, just to ensure that the narrative is still, you can understand the narrative easily, but you want to prevent that private information, that confidential information, that personal data, from getting into the AI's pool of data. So these are some of the things you have to be careful when using AI. Another important thing also using AI is that generally everywhere in the world, because AI thrives on data, making data accessible easily is also important. So one other important thing is that in putting your PDF documents together, it's always good to use PDF documents that are text readable, not simply scanned pages. Because when you scan a page, there's technology also, OCR, that's on-screen character recognition, that is able to convert even a scanned document into written text, and the AI machine is able to work on it. But sometimes it's not as perfect as when you give it a document that is already in text readable format. So these are some of the little tools you can use. And then generally, again, like I also mentioned, when you feed AI information, feeding information in bits is always helpful. Don't put too much information. You may have to break down your questions. You don't have to put a whole lengthy issue for determination. Just ask it the question in bits. That way you get more accurate and helpful responses than when you jumble all of it in. So I just thought to quickly do this demo while we're waiting. So please, at any point the questions come up, please, we can move to the questions.
I've seen quite some. I've seen quite some. Please, Fola, Shadi, or Matt, any of you can take this. Someone asked, that's Isaiah. He said, How do the panelists see AI shaping the training and development of junior lawyers, particularly in terms of building critical thinking and legal drafting skills that might otherwise be developed through more manual tasks? More like, I think it's about training.
I'm passing that to Afolasade. That's from her boss. So
I was thinking that you answer it, but I'll just give it a go. I think that for me, I think where I am at now, I started with doing research, and it has helped me now that I now have something like AI to assist in my work. So I would say that for more junior lawyers, don't see AI as a replacement. You still have to do the research, because we've mentioned at different times during this session that AI can make mistakes. AI can assist, the word is not coming now. AI can make mistakes. So you still have to, hallucinate. Thank you very much. So you cannot replace AI. You cannot generally just take AI and let it replace your research skills. You have to still do some form of research so that AI doesn't, before long, if they see that AI can do the work that you can do, then it means that we don't really need junior lawyers. So it's a powerful training for us. It should help us with our hard outputs, but it should not replace our foundational skills. You still have the research skills, and an average lawyer should know how to research. So you can know, as soon as you see maybe like a citation that was generated by, let's say, ChatGPT, you can tell if something is wrong. So you are still going back to do your research. So, but what AI just gives you is you don't have to start from a blank page. You're starting from a rough draft. So it means that you can actually now spend more time now doing research specific. You don't now have to maybe go through indexes. You can basically just map out your research to like focus on a particular aspect that you're trying to correct the AI on. Then it would help you. The time that you would have used for research, maybe you would have spent like 3 hours. Now you've done it in 1 hour, 30 minutes. It means that your boss doesn't have to wait 3 hours before you bring back your deliverable. It means that you have 1 hour, 30 minutes extra to do some critical thinking or some strategic thinking. So if you've been maybe asked to research cases on, let's say, third party proceedings, and maybe you got it, that means that you cannot go the extra mile to think about the procedure, how it affects the particular case that you've been asked to research on. Take it further. AI shouldn't make you lazy. It shouldn't make you over rely on and trust AI hook, line, and sinker. It means that if AI can save you time, then the time that it has saved you, use it to actually better the output, so that your boss sees that, oh, there's an improvement. You use AI, but there is more value in what you've actually produced. So I'm just saying AI is good, but over reliance, please don't do that. Don't use AI, the research skills that AI has, to now replace your foundational skills, say in research.
So, sorry, Uloma, just permit me to jump in with a practical situation I faced recently. So recently, I noticed that my capacity to get accurate cases on the Nigerian Weekly Law Report online portal, which is what I use now, I no longer use the hard copy. I suddenly found I was struggling because, okay, what happened was that I had a matter, and I know I did thorough research on the Nigerian Weekly Law Report website, but I missed a very important authority. And the lawyer on the other side brought up that authority in court, and the team put me in quite a tough position. So I was reflecting on that and wondering what essentially was that I went back to my office and I was just thinking about it, and I picked one of the copies of the old Nigerian Weekly Law Report indexes. So I was looking through. So what I now realized was that what had happened to me over time was that because I had gotten used to doing research online on the Nigerian Weekly Law Report, I had gotten lazy about understanding the right type of keywords that would give me the accurate results in Nigerian Weekly Law Report. Because the keywords used, for instance, in Law Pavilion online to get results is quite different from what you use in Nigerian Weekly Law Report. So what I found was that by going through the index again carefully, it suddenly sharpened my skill on knowing how to prompt Nigerian Weekly Law Report online to give me accurate results. So the question asked by Bozumo SCN is very important. That, in migrating to these skills, we must learn that some of those manual skills what really hone you and ground you. And that when you have that foundation in place, then you can build upon it this digital skills. So I agree with him that there's a need for law firms to still know. So in fact, I had made it a note that, first of all, I was going to plead with Nigerian Law Report publishers to make those indexes also available on their online platform. It really aid our research, but I suspect, not to say anything wrong, but maybe for economic reasons, they prefer to have that in hard copy because it's not on the online platform. But I want to talk to them about it and say they might consider bringing that on the online platform. But I think there's a need for people to understand that those manual processes really set you up to really become efficient in using the digital processes. So law firms and other training institutions must build in some of those manual paradigms into how we train people before we layer the new technology approaches on top of that.
All right, thank you, Max. Let us say, and I hope we've answered your question. The next one I have is, somebody said, I've come to realize that taking an LLM in ICT is not the way to be a specialist in legal tech. The person is saying that their topics are very mundane, that there's nothing like AI or blockchain, and instead it's old topics. So that the person wants guidance on what do you think is the best if you were going to be a legal technology expert. Who would like to take this?
Okay, maybe I can give that a shot, and I'll tell you a story as well. I had always had interest in technology law, maybe because somehow before I got into law, I'd been exposed to technology and I found it fascinating. So that natural human inquisitiveness drove me in that direction. And when I became a lawyer, it was easy for me to follow through. But I always had this assumption, and if you think of it on the surface level, that it is the young lawyers who have an advantage in tech law space, and that's what we think. But I went for an IBA event, and I remember meeting the head of technology law practice in one of the big global law firms. This was, at the time I met him, he was a 74-year-old gentleman. He was, and he gave us a talk, and then he mentioned that, look, the truth of the matter is that anybody can become a technology lawyer. Once you are a good lawyer already, it is the same commercial law skills you bring into that field. A lot of what technology lawyers do is not really technical in that sense. Sometimes it's drafting contracts, it's negotiating term sheets, it's drafting vesting agreements for key personnel in fintech. So some of that is just having good commercial law skills. It's not necessarily knowing too much of the technology behind it. Knowing the technology only helps you maybe for marketing reasons and also helps you to understand their business model. But what you really need is your traditional law skills. You just transfer them. So I see a part to that question, if that's what I'm read, Uloma, where the questioner is also asking about the course called ICCP/E, which essentially data,
that's the question.
Data protection and privacy certification internationally. We have the Nigerian version of it now. So I'd encourage you also to check out the Data Protection Law Association of Nigeria, D-Plan. It's led, of course, by Olumide Babalola, who we know is one of the leading authorities in Africa and even globally now on data privacy and protection law. So I'm just encouraging you, start local. Don't go for ICCPE first. Start with the local one, which I think is very beneficial and gives you all the exposure that you need as well. So yeah, doing an LLM in ICT law is not a bad idea, but for me, it's not a prerequisite to becoming a specialist in this sector. You can transfer your skills, and the good thing about the tech space is that you can learn a lot online. I mean, a lot of my learning in this area was done online. Most of them are even free, and not even necessarily paid courses. You might have them free, for instance, on Coursera, but if you want a certificate, then you pay maybe a token, $50, I think most of the time. So it's not, but sometimes you just want the knowledge. There are a lot of free courses available online you can start with, and then you can later build up. But doing ICCP is not bad at all. If you can afford it and if you really need it, it's not a bad idea at all. But you can also do D-Plan, which is our local version, patronize the Naira and grow the Nigerian economy.
Thank you so much. So there's another question from Oluwatobi, and he's saying, please, can the panelists list out some of the AI tools that were referred to? Because I know you listed two, but maybe they just want a list. I know you talked about Perplexity and Google LLM, Google Notebook LLM. That's actually the name. So I don't know if there are others that you would like them to know about.
If I may, I mentioned Module Law AI.
Yeah.
There's Quillbot, there is Co-Counsel, there is Copy AI, there's Leonardo AI, there's Canva, there is Pictory, there is Congo AI. I mean, most of these ones are free. There's Descript, there is Relativity, there's Everlaw, there is Logical, there's Simplify, there is Claude AI, there is Scribe Owl, there's Lumen 5. I mean,
Sorry, Afolasade, let me cut you
I
short.
think
You've mentioned up to 15 or 20 now as I'm talking to you. Please, can you drop some on the chat so that people can get them?
I'll do that.
That will help a lot. Do we have more questions? Yes, exactly. Someone said list them in writing, which is what I just accepted. Do we have more questions before I officially hand over to the chairman of the committee? All right, thank you so very much. I was thinking this we'll do 1 hour, 5 minutes, or 1 hour, 10 minutes. We're almost getting into 2 hours. Thank you very much for all of you for even having time to listen to us. And many thanks to the speakers. This has been very insightful, even for people like us that I think we have known quite some, but this was really informative. And thank you to this committee for making this happen. I don't know if the chairman of the committee wants to say anything before we eventually sign off, but this is where I hand over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Uloma Okoro. You've done a wonderful, fantastic job. Thank you very much. Afola, well, we will discuss it later. I will have you a bit more, but you have done a very good job. Thank you very much, Mr. Ikongbeh, for I mean, we have been on a few panels together, so there's no question. I knew you were going to do justice, the kind of justice that is difficult for another person to do. So thank you all very much. I also thank the people who have asked questions. Your questions have been very useful. They have helped the conversation. So while people were talking, I thought I should mention something. Thank you very much, Fola, for listening out those ones. I wanted to mention something before I just even finally close. Marx referred to Notebook LM. What I didn't quite hear whether he said this or not, but Notebook LM can convert a text into a like those texts. You can like sort of do a chat, a podcast. You can make a podcast out of it. So I know that we're at the end of this, but I just want to show one quick one before I close. Window Max, no vexo.
Please carry on.
So Folashade will know about this. I discussed this with her while I was doing the training. So this is my screen. When I was about to do my arbitration examination, so I uploaded all the documents they sent to us, and I, sort of did, and then he gave me this.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Hold on. Let me be sure that I included sound to this.
Yes, you did. We could hear your sound. Carry on.
No, the sound of the screen, not my.
Yes, we heard the sound of the screen.
We heard it actually.
Okay, can you hear it now?
Today we're going to strap on our legal helmet. Okay.
They promote transparency without completely undermining the need for confidentiality.
Got it.
For example, the notice of arbitration and key documents related to the case are generally made public,
so people can see them.
This allows the public to understand the nature and the arguments being put forward.
Okay, so it sheds light on what's often a very opaque process. Any other ways these rules increase transparency?
Yes, the rules allow for third parties like non-governmental organizations or industry groups.
Okay, so yeah, something like this, and I use it throughout the session. I didn't have the time to read. So when I was driving to the office, when I was driving back from the office, or I'm going for a meeting, I just played the audio on my phone, or sometimes I play it in the night and it was in my head. By the time I went for the interview, I was answering questions like boom, boom, boom. Everybody thought I was the master of the entire thing, And then there's another one, Study Fetch, which actually converts the PDF text into videos, into video formats. So, and there are a few
what do you call it? Study what?
Study Fetch. Then there's Unstock Study. Unstock Study will take your video, if there's a video like this on YouTube, it will take it and then break it into a training manual that you can use for the purpose of training. There's also, what's the name of this one? So I think we're going to share it later. There are quite a lot of them. Falasha, they will be listing them as we're talking. She's listing 1 million and one of them. But there's just one I wanted to mention before I close. Not Study Fetch, not Fathom. Anyway, there are quite a lot of them. They have different this thing. And then for the learning, please do well to, I mean, you can learn one of the most significant things you can learn, especially with generative AI, is to learn prompt engineering. There are courses on Udemy, Allison, Coursera, even Google has its own free courses that are certificates are provided. You can also do deep learning.ai. So they sort of help you do training courses. So I think it's one of the most significant things we can do right now is learn how to prompt if you're going to use it. Now there are other issues like infrastructure, which we'll be dealing with with a different category of persons, and it's something that we're advocating for at different levels. So anyway, I've taken too much of your time for talking about all this stuff. The speakers have done a wonderful job, and I thank them very much. Now I just want to make a few announcements. I've been making them over and over again, but I want us to hear it. First of all, please, there are CLA points, CPD points for this session. So please fill the form. We have been pasting a notice quite a few times. Please fill the form so that you can get your certificate. Please don't forget to register for the MBSLP conference. It's coming up on the 24th next week, 24th to 27th. There's wonderful sessions, including a session on technology. Please go with that. Please register and attend. The website is also on the chat box. I'll still share them again. Please learn. Also, the MBA last year approved guidelines for the use of technology. We have data protection guidelines for the use of technology. They are available on the website. The links are provided. Please do well to join. Also, this is not the end of these sessions. We're having these sessions every week, save for the week that the Thursday is May 1st. That week is a public holiday, so we'll skip that, but we have them every other week. In the coming weeks, we'll be doing practical sessions on, for example, how to use ChatGPT. So somebody will sit down and say, okay, specifically ChatGPT. When you start, this is how you register. After you've registered, this is what you should do. This is what you should do to make sure your information does not go here, does not go there. This is the right kind of prompt that if you have a document you want to analyze, this is what you want, this is what you should use. And so we're going to do that for ChatGPT. We're going to use that for a number of all the other, the generally available technology AI software, so that we can learn to use them appropriately and in the appropriate circumstance. Now, if you are not a member of the SLP, please do well to join. You can join by visiting mbslp.org and register. A number of our courses are free to attend if you're a member. Some are not. So if you're not a member of the MBSLP, you won't get them. Also, there's still two what do you call it now? Two scholarships for the MBSLP conference. For if you're a young lawyer, you can still attend. If you Google MBA SLP scholarship or sponsorship, you'd find one. There's one by the chairman, and there's one by there are two. I can't remember the second, but please do well to register, join, and come and have fun. Thank you all very much for joining. I thank Mrs. Harriet Balogun for being here. The chairman of the ADR Alternative Dispute Resolution Committee, Mr. Bozimo, I say, and I thank you very much for being here and for engaging. I was very happy to see you. I can't see all the other persons who attended, but thank you all very much for joining and for making this an insightful session. Remember, the link to the where you can get all the other videos are on YouTube, so you can if you miss anyone, you can go back and check them. Last week we talked about AI and legal practice, but we'll discuss more ethical challenges and those other original concerns before we get to the before we go to the practical aspects for today. So we have had others. Please go ahead, view, subscribe, watch, etc. Thank you very much. This is where I say goodbye. I've spoken too much.
If I may, I just saw that Professor Emilia is on the call.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Thank you very much for bringing our attention. Thank you very much for all for attending. For me, I'm signing off. You can all stay if you want and be discussing with Fola. No problem.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
thank you, everybody.